I've only ever played one RPG version of D&D, so I didn't really know what to expect with Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I was hoping for a fun story, and the teaser trailer, it looked like it could have some great action and funny comedy. Now, I saw the movie a couple of weeks ago, but now it's finally coming to theaters. Is it worth checking out? A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic, but things go dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. The cast is a great one in this, where we've got Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Rege-Jean Page, Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Hugh Grant. The premise is that this band of thieves stole an item that's really powerful and dangerous, and now to prevent some massive chaos and gain back the trust of a daughter, they need to get the item back. The movie is on the longer side at 2 hours and 14 minutes, and it did take a bit for the story to find its groove. There's a large montage with a voiceover at the start to quickly introduce us to the world and the characters before jumping into the crux of the story. It's recounted in a pretty entertaining way thanks to the sarcastic delivery of Chris Pine. And one thing that was a little odd to me is that as we're introduced to the lands of this world, we're shown a map, but it quickly goes over the areas, not really taking the time to describe them, or even show them to us. Now, from what I know about D&D, part of the whole experience is to build out the world for the players, going into rather great detail about all that's present and what the characters could encounter. We really don't get that. And while it may not be a huge deal, especially to show lands as they'll never travel to, the intro, it was a little lacking to me. And pretty much though, right from the start of the movie, there is humor that's injected into the dialogue and the situations. Now, I wouldn't say it's laugh out loud funny at the start, but it did amuse me. But then there's this scene in a graveyard. And I guess it was shown in the full trailer, but I didn't see that. So it was a complete surprise for me. But in this scene, I genuinely laughed out loud. And that's when everything really started to click. The dynamics between the group work really well. They're snarky and antagonistic to each other in mild ways, showcasing how they're very familiar with each other and each has quirks that annoy the other ones. The action in this is a lot of fun. Michelle Rodriguez, she can kick some serious butt, and there are several scenes where she gets to demonstrate awesome hand-to-hand battles with a lot of fun fight choreography. Now, she also has a very soft side to her, which contrasts nicely with her fierce persona. And there are multiple times in this that she displays a motherly quality, and it really showcases how just because she's this talented fighter who can brutally destroy an opponent, she can still have a caring heart that drives her to protect. Rege-Jean Page isn't in this nearly as long as I thought he was going to be, but his delivery is extremely funny. He reminds me a lot of Drax from the Guardians movies because of just how literal he can be. His dry delivery is then made even more fun as he exchanges lines with Chris Pine. And despite not being in the film for very long, he really does make a lasting impact on the story. Now, I enjoyed Justice Smith and Sophia Lillis, especially when they're interacting together, because the characters have some history with each other, making for some awkward but humorous banter. Also, the conversations they have are touching and inspiring, especially as we get to watch each of the characters grow. They both learn lessons along the way, and these come about organically, never feeling forced or shoehorned into the story in order to make X happen. Now, as much as I like Hugh Grant as an actor, and I think he's enjoyable in this, he's exactly what you'd expect from him. The character is witty, but stumbling in his delivery, using the stammering to just put characters at ease before delivering something sarcastic or diabolical. Now, he's fun to watch, but his art is very predictable, and I just wish he would have maybe tweaked his performance some to create a character that's not so familiar. And I still didn't dislike him in this, but I think he may have been probably the weakest point of the characters. And you know what, honestly, the same might be able to be said about Chris Pine. He's awesome to watch, but his character is a lot like many of his other performances. I think, though, for his particular character in this, his cynicism and snark, they're necessary. And because this is a fantasy movie, there are a lot of visuals that require special effects, like a dragon or bony creatures, Death Eater-looking beings, or even an owlbear. And all of them, I think they look pretty good. There are some specific effects that surround the main villain, and then this flowing smoke-like visuals, I thought they were really cool. They create this ominous air, with the results, I think, becoming horrifying, but not scary. Everything that we see, it really just helps to build out this fantastical world full of magic. And the magic, it also really helps to add excitement to a lot of the action sequences, creating visuals or even situations that can either help the characters or put them in very grave danger. And when we get some of the action scenes, many of them, they're longer in duration, so we can get invested in the battles, allowing for some peril and anticipation to build before there's a resolution. I think the story has enough heart to keep everyone engaged, especially because the item that the group is trying to recover is only one portion of the story. It's not really even the soul of the narrative. There's a massive familial storyline that permeates every aspect, and this is where the movie maintains its charm. There are emotional pieces that are at stake, and I was drawn into these areas because they're made to be relatable and touching. And then, when the sentimental portions are combined with just genuinely funny comedy, we get a story that captivates and entertains and barely ever misfires. Now, I don't think you need to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons in order to enjoy this movie. It's simply just a fantasy adventure filled with heart and laughs. The cast works well together, showcasing a lot of chemistry and charisma, and these are then complemented by an enjoyable quest centered around family. As special effects, they help to enhance a world that looks amazing thanks to beautiful costume and set designs, transporting us to a magical land where anything that can be imagined can happen, including a story that touches the heart. There's also a mid-credit scene that's pretty funny, so don't leave before it plays. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and a ton of violence. I give Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves 4.5 out of 5 couches. So do you like fantasy movies? Let me know some of your favorites in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.